You can do it for about here. I want to film it. Other people can even we'll just stand down a bit. Hello everyone. Hello. Can I have your attention please? Gather round, please. Come into the shop so you can hear Dan speak. Come in, come on. Is everyone here okay? Good. I'll take you home. So, well, welcome to Arnolfini Bookshop. My name's Richard Jones. I'm the publisher of Me, Myself and I, Tangent Books. And I'm here to introduce Dan Jeffries. So the good news is I'm going to be very brief. The bad news is that Dan may well hang on quite some time. In which case the bar is at the end of this corridor, 95 society. First of all, I'd like to thank especially John and Tamsin for hosting this event. It's a fantastic bookshop, the Arnolfini, and as we all know, it's not the easiest times for bookshops, but I'm glad to hear that the Arnolfini Bookshop is going well. But an important point is do support your local bookshops, whether it's here or wherever you live. Try not to buy this book on Amazon. If you have to buy it online, come to tangentbooks.co.uk and look at my brand new website. But come back here when you want to buy more copies, as I'm sure you will. Come back here because this is where the book is going to be stocked. So support your local bookshops. I'm also one of the organisers of the Bristol Festival of Literature, which starts this weekend. And Dan will be there over the weekend in the green capital space, so the water next to the stable park. And you'll be there on Saturday and Sunday mornings as part of our book bazaar. So if you know people who want to come tonight and can't, Dan will be there over the weekend as well. So Dan Jeffries, well, it seems a bit odd for me to be introducing Dan because virtually everybody in this room knows him a lot better than I do. I came quite late to this the process, about 6 or 7 months ago, by which time Dan had done pretty much all of the work. Got in touch with me and told me about the project. And I was immediately interested in it because of the nature of it, the way in which he's linked the physical book, the e-book, and the mobile website. He's way ahead of his time. Not many people have done this in publishing. And as publishers, we're always looking at new ways of presenting our books, presenting our stories. And Dan's done an absolutely inspirational job in doing that. So he then sent me the manuscript. And as soon as I read it, I was absolutely wanted to be involved in this book. It's a fantastically well written book. I really enjoyed reading it. It's funny. It's sad in places. It's self-deprecating, it's moving, and it's inspirational as well for a variety of reasons. Dan had told us how Dan has overcome and coped with not just one rare medical condition, but two. And working with Dan has been a real joy. I've been humbled by his passion for this project, his organisational skills, and his great sense of humour. And I've admired his ability, particularly, to generate an almost constant stream of emails. It's been a pleasure, Dan.
Yes.
So, so I'm delighted you're here to help celebrate the launch of Me, Myself and I, and to wish every success to its author, Dan Jeffries.
Okay. I've made some speeches in my time, but this is one of the biggest ones. Hopefully, no, I'd say one of the best, but I don't know that yet until I've made it. But it's one of the most important ones, I suppose. So, can you hear? Do you want me to speak up? Okay, louder. Okay. First of all, thanks to everyone for coming. I know some of you have travelled from far and wide, from up north, from London way, and some have come from Clifton. And I know how much of a journey that is for some. Also, in the spirit of technology, hello, we're streaming on YouTube, OMG, or whatever they say. But that's one of the big things about this, is the link with technology. So to those watching online, hello, thanks for making the effort. I first came up with the idea of the book in about February 2013, and I'll explain how that happened a bit more later on. I started writing the book in about April 2013, and it's an incredibly daunting experience when you have the idea, but all you have is a blank page, and you just don't know quite what to write. So I've worked out a life timeline from birth, all the key points in my life up to now. I run it past the family, and they filled in bits that I'd forgotten or corrected errors that I'd made. And then really it was a case of starting to write it. And I got in touch with a ghostwriting company that are based in Brighton. And I spent an hour with the manager of this ghostwriting company telling him my story. And at the end of it, I said, so, do you think it's a book? And he went, I don't know. I was like, right. He said, I think it's probably an e-book. I'm not sure if there's enough there for it to be a physical book. So that obviously spurred me on to absolutely make sure that it was going to be a physical book. So I started writing, and he put me in touch with a ghostwriter based in Amsterdam, and a guy called Bayou Richmond. And over the 2 years, we worked together through Google Docs and Skype to write this book. And I'd write a chapter, and he'd read it, and he'd make a correction or suggest an alteration. But really, he just left me to it. He just let me write it. And all the advice he kept giving me was just write. Don't worry about the mistakes. So my first thanks goes to him, because I'm indebted to him for shaping the book into something, well, into what it has become. So if you're watching, mate, thank you very much. The writing process was, I wouldn't say it was arduous, because I used to be able to find the time to do it. I used to write a lot on trains, hotel rooms, airports. I even took a week off to go to Turkey and sit by a pool and just write for a week, which was horrible, if you can imagine. I kind of felt I needed that, you know, to find my inner nonsense or whatever. But early on, really quite early on, I was cleaning my teeth one night, and I seem to get light bulb moments when I clean my teeth, for whatever reason, just before I go to bed. And I just had this idea of, I've got all of these pictures and documents and music and bits of video. It's going to cost a fortune to stick it into a book. What can I do? And I just thought, do an app. Do an app that goes with it. So as you're reading the book, you can look at stuff, and the two sort of link together. And I looked around, and no one else had done it. Not really. So I'm thinking, this has got legs. this has got to be an experience. So I spoke to a few techie friends of mine. I spoke to a few people that read. Not that the two are exclusive, and both said, that sounds like a really, really cool idea. So my second thanks is Mr. Paul Drummond, wherever he is, somewhere in the room. And I've worked with Paul for the last 2 years designing and developing the ebook. And I can promise you that's been a pretty horrendous task. I don't mean working with you. I mean the final point. We only got the ebook validated Sunday nights by Apple. So that's how close to the wire we were to make sure the technology was working properly. But working with Paul has been fantastic, and he's helped build the website as well. And he's constantly put up with all of my tweaks, which most people who want websites built need to do. I was then thinking that I'm probably going to self-publish this. I contacted 10 or so publishers. Even the ones that had guaranteed a response didn't reply. So I'm thinking, I'm used to the music industry not replying, and I thought at least the publishing industry might say something. Not a word. So I was in the process of self-publishing, and somebody said to me, have you thought of contacting Tangent Books? So I called Richard, I told him my story, and I explained the idea, and we immediately hit it off, and he was keen to get the book published. And so my third thanks is to Richard for all the tireless work he's done, and, as I put here, tolerating my constant phone calls and emails, because I realise I am an absolute nightmare. But, communication is key. So I'm very, very grateful to Richard as well for believing in the project from the beginning. So during all of this, I realised I needed a design for the book. And about a year ago, I moved into an office at the bottom of Park Street, and the guy that runs the office is called David Martin. And it so happens that he's a designer. So I said to him, David, I'm writing a book. Would you be interested in maybe a bit of design work? He came up with an idea, and the idea that he came up with was pretty much exactly that. That's how spot on he was in getting it right. So not many tweaks on that one, thankfully. And then he came up with the idea of the back being a bit of a contrast, more about the medical stuff, pictures of me growing up, things like that. So again, to David, he helped make the Kickstarter video, and all the artwork and all the pictures you see around. I'm eternally grateful to David, especially for all the little tweaks that he's had to fix over the time, and all the phone calls and emails and my constant harassing. He probably hates me, but I paid him, so there you go. No, it was enough for me. Of course, it goes without saying, a massive thanks to my family and my close friends. I can't quite imagine what my family thought when I said I'm going to write a book about our family history. Probably there was a shiver of ice went down everyone's spine. But I've been pretty good about the whole thing. I'm eternally grateful as well to everyone who gave through Kickstarter. I can't tell you how huge that was, and it often feels a little bit weird asking for money. But the returns are great. So I want you all to give yourself a massive cheer for Kickstarter. Hooray! Okay, don't worry, there's not many more to go. Can you hear at the back? Is it still quite difficult? Can you hear? Louder. Can you come forward a bit? And then because it's really hard to shout. I know. Is that better? I know. Okay, that's it. Tell them to shut up, Sam. Be the teacher. Okay, so I have a bit of a confession to make, and that is that I don't really read books. That was a bit of a worry for me, because it made me query whether I had any right to write a book if I don't read them. If it's not too grand a connection, it's the first book I've read, and it's taken me a year. I'm currently reading the Steve Jobs biography. Now, Steve Jobs, as in Mr. Apple. Now, I hope there's not too much of a link between myself and Steve, and I'm not necessarily trying to suggest that there is. But what was interesting while reading the book is that he has a concept of reality distortion, i.e. anything is possible. And I kind of realised as I'm reading this that working with David and working with Richard and working with everyone else, that I do have this sense of, I don't believe it can't be done, we're going to do it, that's it, which might be a Jeffries trait, quite possibly. But, you know, done in the right way. So I always wanted to make the project as good as possible. But whilst reading it, you obviously realise that Steve also went through some serious medical issues. He had cancer in numerous places, and he had a massive fight against things like that. And I was watching a programme last night about a guy with thalidomide, a 50-year-old guy, I don't know if anyone else saw it, in Australia, no arms, and he's there playing the piano, writing music, driving cars, and he's released more albums than I have. He's sat there, I've released 100,000, I've sold 100,000 CDs, I'm going, this isn't right. But, you know, goes to show you, I think, that adversity means nothing. And if you want to do it, and you've got, hopefully, the passion to do it, then you will. And one line that really struck me was that somebody said he was the extraordinary ordinary. I thought it was really interesting because I have medical conditions that are rare beyond words, less than 30 in the world. It's not something that I've ever played to, he says, writing a book. But it's just part of what you are. And you go through life living these things, and it becomes part of your makeup. So in many ways, I'm kind of grateful for the rarity of my conditions, because it's put me in a very, very unique condition. I know it's probably given my parents hell over the 35 years or so, but it has made me, I guess, a unique person. And if you take anything with you, it's to consider that some conditions are hidden, and you don't always see them. They're not obvious. And those are people that suffer just as much as those who maybe have more outwardly physical conditions. So anyway, that's the thought I want to leave you on. I think it's quieting down a little bit now. Is it quieting down a little bit? I'm not going to start again, don't worry. But what I would like to do, if you'll permit me, just want to read a couple of pages from the book, and then we can drink. I'll sell some books and sign them and things like that. So I toyed with the idea of what to read, but I'm going to read the prologue, which I think most of you have probably read, but it's my favourite, one of my favourite sections of the book. And it references a couple of people that are here as well. So I might stand over here for this. So I'm a bit more in the middle. Just got to sort my webcam out. Okay, is that better? Is that better? Okay. I step out of the shower, reach for a towel, and look at myself in the mirror. On the sink is a bottle of Alpacin, hair revitalizer, half full now, must get a new one off eBay. I pick it up, squirt it into my thinning hair, and gently rub it in with my very large hands. I glance back up at the mirror again, wince at my uncomfortable features, and contemplate how utterly pointless this is. I lick my lips and examine my teeth. I like these. Thankfully, teeth don't thin. A minute or so later, I stop rubbing my head like a chimp with ADHD. I reach out for my glasses, missing them at first, groping around until I find them. I raise them up to my head and place them over my ears, a ritual I have performed 1,000,000 times before. I look in the mirror once again. Now I'm in focus. Town, drinks, socialising, strangers, I think to myself, and roll my eyes at my own self-doubt. I'm off to meet Ian, an old school friend, to celebrate his birthday. He's 36, just like me. There it is. I cross my living room to the bedroom. House music blares from my speakers. Millie sits on the sofa, licking her paws. Her head pops up as I cross the room, and her little eyes follow me intently. She's totally nonplussed by the noise. I hope it's because she's old and deaf, and not because she thinks I have shit taste in music. Inside the bedroom, I open my wardrobe and think about what to wear. Casual, smart casual, or impressive. I know old school friends will be there. Some I haven't seen for years. I know they'll probably be married or engaged or have kids. I know that I'll be the single one. Hey, maybe I'll find the love of my life there. I go casual. Bristol, Friday night, 8 p.m. We're meeting down on the waterfront, which means walking down Park Street and crossing the city centre. I weave my way through the drunken melee of short skirts and rippling torsos, conscious that I might do my usual trick of accidentally bumping into someone with arms like the Incredible Hulk. Thankfully, this time I don't. I arrive at the restaurant and scan the large open space. The common challenge of trying to see where people are now raises its ugly head. Are they here? Will they see me? Fools. I should have texted Ian to tell him to keep an eye out for me, something I'd normally do. I can't see them, so I cross to the bar and order myself a vodka and Diet Coke. Whilst there, I think I spot someone standing next to me that I went to school with. He doesn't recognise me. I'm not surprised. 18 years can change a man. Eventually, Ian turns up. He shakes hands with the guy I'm standing next to, turns to me, and exclaims, "Hello, monkey." I'm introduced to the chap next to me, and of course we immediately recognise one each other. And it's, "How are you? God, has it been that long?" A few more people turn up, and as is the way with Bristol, we start to realise that we all already know each other through mutual friends. Phew, I can start to relax a bit. I order another vodka. A waiter comes and tells us our table is ready, and we casually wander over. Weirdly, there are not enough places at the table, but now that I'm buoyed up on vodka, or pissed as it's more commonly known, and feeling part of the group, I grab a spare chair and seat myself at the head of the table, like I'm the court jester in residence. I'm sat next to Merv, the guy at the bar, and his girlfriend, plus another couple I don't know. I'm on good form, more comfortable now that I'm the centre of attention and not on the periphery. "So, Dan, Ian tells me you work in music," asked Merv's girlfriend, Danielle. "Yeah, music education. I write my own music, DJ a bit, and run my own label too." "Really? That's pretty exciting. Have you been doing that for long?" I reach out to grab a drink and knock hers over by mistake. "I'm so sorry. My eyesight is rubbish. I can't always see what's around me." Danielle smiles as we clean up the mess. "Oh, don't worry about it. Have your eyes always been like that?" And so it begins. I know that I'm about to tell this story and tell it to a group of people that have never heard it before. I'll see their jaws drop, their eyes widen, their mouths curl in sadness and ripple with laughter. I order another drink and one for Danielle. 30 minutes later and the story is told. I see the emotions written across the faces of my audience. Shock, surprise, pity, disbelief. Questions are asked, drinks are bought. We decide to skip dessert. I turn to Danielle. "I bet you wish you'd never asked," I joke. She looks at me, thinks for a second, and then utters a phrase I will never forget. "You should write a book." A smile creeps across my face, like the sun at the dawn of creation. "A book, you say? Now there's a good idea." So, that doesn't let your whistle fire up. I don't know what will. Go and get a glass of wine, and then I'm going to be sat at this table, and then let's sell some books. Thank you very much for coming, everybody. Yeah, I think you probably do.
Hello. Nice to meet you.